Your brain naturally loses volume as you age, but according to a massive 2022 study analyzing over 36,000 MRI scans, some people are experiencing reductions in brain volume much faster than others. The culprit isn't just bad genetics. A major factor driving this accelerated aging is sitting in your fridge right now. Today, we are ranking the 10 worst foods for your brain based on clinical evidence and revealing exactly what the science suggests you should eat instead to protect your cognitive longevity. Number 1 and 2 are drinks you probably had this morning. Quick note, this video is for educational purposes based on published research, not medical advice. Let's dive into the science. Number 10. Artificial sweeteners, specifically aspartame and sucralose. You swap your regular soda for a diet or zero sugar version to keep your caloric intake in check. On paper, it seems like a highly logical, smart choice, but the metabolic reality unfolding inside your body is much more complex. A 2022 study published in the journal Cell demonstrated that non-nutritive sweeteners can significantly alter your gut microbiome. While they don't contain digestible calories, they actively change which bacterial strains thrive and which ones die off in your digestive tract. Why does this bacterial shift matter for your head? Your gut and brain constantly communicate via a massive bidirectional highway known as the vagus nerve, as well as through your systemic immune system. Emerging research strongly suggests this microbiome disruption negatively influences the gut-brain axis. When the delicate balance of bacteria is thrown off, it can trigger localized inflammatory responses in the digestive tract. This low-grade chronic inflammation doesn't stay localized. It can theoretically crosstalk with the brain's immune cells, the microglia, impacting cognitive clarity, mood regulation, and mental endurance over time. If you need a sweet fix, look for natural, plant-based alternatives like pure stevia leaf extract or monk fruit, which currently do not appear to disrupt the microbiome to the same degree. Better yet, switch to sparkling mineral water with fresh lemon or lime. It provides healthy cellular hydration and completely removes this unnecessary inflammatory variable from your cognitive health equation. Number 9. Margarine and fake butters. For decades, the standard dietary advice was to swap natural butter for margarine, operating on the belief that it was the superior, heart-healthy choice. But neurological data gathered over the last few years tells a profoundly different and deeply concerning story. A 2020 study in the journal Neurology tracked older adults and found those with the highest blood levels of ellatic acid, a common industrial trans fat, had a significantly higher risk of developing dementia. Let's look at the cellular architecture. Your brain is roughly 60% fat. The cell membranes of every single neuron, as well as the myelin sheath that insulates your nerve fibers, rely entirely on dietary fats to maintain their fluidity, conductivity, and flexibility. When you ingest industrial trans fats, your body has no choice but to incorporate them into these delicate cellular structures. Because trans fats are manufactured through hydrogenation, they have an unnatural, rigid chemical shape that severely compromises membrane flexibility. When neuronal membranes become rigid, cellular communication physically slows down. The neuron struggles to transport vital nutrients in and push toxic metabolic waste out. Over time, this cellular inefficiency manifests as the classic symptoms of brain fog, cognitive sluggishness, and poor memory recall. While the FDA has largely banned artificial trans fats as a primary ingredient, massive loopholes still allow manufacturers to hide small amounts in processed baked goods and spreads. The practical swap is simple and biologically sound. Go back to minimally processed, single-ingredient fats like grass-fed butter or extra virgin olive oil. By using high-quality olive oil, you provide your neurons with the exact healthy lipids and protective polyphenols they need to maintain optimal fluid membrane function. Number 8. High-mercury fish. Specifically, large, long-living species like swordfish, king mackerel, and tilefish. This entry requires careful nuance because seafood is generally incredible for brain health, but you absolutely have to know exactly which ones to buy at the seafood counter. Your brain desperately needs the omega-3 fatty acid DHA, which is highly abundant in seafood and crucial for maintaining brain volume. However, due to industrial pollution, heavy metals bioaccumulate in marine ecosystems. Based on strict FDA and EPA guidelines, large predatory fish that live a long time accumulate massive concentrated amounts of mercury in their tissue. Mercury is a well-documented, potent neurotoxin with a long half-life in the human body. When it crosses into your brain, it directly interferes with neurogenesis, the creation of new neurons, and synaptic plasticity, which are the vital biological mechanisms for memory consolidation and learning. You are eating the swordfish for the beneficial DHA, but the heavy metal payload actively disrupts the very neural networks you are actively trying to protect. You do not need to give up seafood. You just need to eat lower on the food chain. Swap the expensive swordfish steaks for canned sardines, anchovies, or wild-caught Alaskan salmon. Canned sardines are packed with DHA, but because they are small and live short lives, they do not have the time to accumulate significant heavy metals. At about $1.25 a can, they offer massive, safe cognitive protection for pennies on the dollar. Number 7. Ultra-processed meats, such as hot dogs, cheap bologna, and packaged deli meats. According to a massive 2021 observational study using UK Biobank data published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, consuming just 25 grams of processed meat daily was associated with a staggering 44% higher risk of incident dementia. While observational studies don't definitively prove isolated causation, the biological mechanism at play makes perfect sense. 25 grams is roughly one single slice of standard bacon. Industrial meat processing utilizes high heat, smoking, and chemical preservatives like synthetic nitrates. This harsh, unnatural processing produces high levels of advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. When high levels of AGEs enter your systemic circulation, they contribute heavily to oxidative stress. Think of oxidative stress like microscopic biological rust. It rapidly exhausts your body's antioxidant defense systems and damages the delicate endothelial cells lining the blood vessels that supply crucial oxygen to your brain. Over decades, this degrades vascular integrity, directly contributing to cognitive decline. If you spend money weekly on pre-packaged deli meat to save time, you are paying a premium for convenience at the cost of potential oxidative stress. Instead, buy a fresh, raw chicken breast or turkey roast for $4 or $5. Roast it on Sunday with olive oil and sea salt, slice it thin, and use it all week. It provides a much cleaner, unadulterated protein source for your long-term cognitive and vascular health. Number 6. Commercially fried foods, such as French fries, fried chicken, and fast food appetizers. It isn't necessarily the physical act of frying that is the primary physiological issue. Humans have cooked with fats for millennia. The catastrophic problem lies in the specific oils used commercially. Fast food restaurants almost exclusively use highly refined seed oils, heating them repeatedly in large vats for 10 to 12 hours a day. When oil is subjected to prolonged high heat and oxygen, the lipid molecules physically degrade, creating highly reactive and damaging compounds called oxidized lipids. These molecules can trigger an oxidative cascade, where one damaged molecule damages the next healthy cell it touches. Your brain has a highly sophisticated security system called the blood-brain barrier, designed to protect your central nervous system from circulating toxins. However, chronic systemic inflammation, driven heavily by oxidized lipids, can weaken the tight junctions of this barrier. When the blood-brain barrier's structural integrity is compromised, it becomes leaky, making it significantly easier for inflammatory compounds to cross over and disrupt sensitive brain tissue over years of dietary exposure. If you absolutely love the crispy texture of fried food, invest in an air fryer for your home. Toss your freshly cut potatoes or chicken in a small amount of high-quality avocado oil, which remains highly stable at high temperatures without breaking down into toxic byproducts. You get the satisfying crunch without exposing your biology to the oxidized lipids that threaten your blood-brain barrier. Number 5. Refined carbohydrates. This heavily includes white bread, pastries, pizza crusts, and commercial breakfast cereals. Data published in the journal Alzheimer's and Dementia notes a strong association between diets with a high glycemic load and poorer cognitive outcomes. Research even points to correlations with higher levels of amyloid proteins in the brain, a well-known hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. The metabolic stress placed on your body by these refined foods is highly documented in clinical literature. Let's look at the daily metabolic reality. You eat slices of white toast or sweetened cereal at 8 a.m. Because the fibrous outer bran and germ were entirely stripped away during commercial milling, your digestive system does almost no work. Your body converts that refined flour rapidly into pure glucose. By 8:30 a.m., your blood sugar spikes aggressively. Sensing this dangerous elevation, your pancreas floods your system with insulin to force the sugar into your cells. By 10:30 a.m., because the insulin response was so exaggerated, your blood sugar plummets rapidly. This creates that mid-morning brain fog where you lose all focus, feel irritable, and reach for another coffee. Your neurons are experiencing a sudden, dramatic fluctuation in their energy supply. This daily, violent roller coaster of metabolic stress negatively impacts cognitive endurance and fundamentally exhausts your brain's insulin receptors over time. The fix is incredibly simple. Check the ingredient list on your bread. If the first word says enriched wheat flour, put it back. Look for 100% whole grain or sprouted grain bread with at least 3 to 4 grams of dietary fiber per slice. Alternatively, switch to traditional steel-cut oats. The intact fiber matrix ensures a slow, steady, controlled release of glucose into your bloodstream. No dramatic spike, no crash, just sustained, clear focus. Number 4. Alcohol. A landmark 2022 study published in the journal Nature Communications analyzed over 36,000 MRI brain scans. They found a clear dose-dependent relationship showing that consuming just 1 to 2 alcoholic drinks a day is associated with reductions in overall brain volume equivalent to 2 full years of aging. We have been told for decades that a daily glass of red wine might have cardiovascular benefits due to certain antioxidants. But neurologically speaking, the hard MRI data paints a deeply sobering picture. Alcohol acts as a solvent that easily crosses the blood-brain barrier. Once inside, it suppresses the prefrontal cortex, disrupts neuronal membranes, and increases neurotoxicity and oxidative stress over time. Furthermore, alcohol severely disrupts your sleep architecture, specifically reducing deep, restorative REM sleep. During deep sleep, your brain's glymphatic system activates, flushing out toxic metabolic waste, including proteins associated with cognitive decline. It also disrupts the overnight production of BDNF, a crucial protein for memory consolidation. Chronic consumption is associated with measurable shrinkage in both gray matter, where you process information, and the white matter tracts connecting different functional brain areas. 1 to 2 drinks a day, 2 years of accelerated brain aging. That is just the regular, socially acceptable glass of wine with dinner. The clinical data heavily suggests that for preserving long-term brain volume, less is always better. If you rely on a drink to unwind, swap it for a high-quality kombucha poured over ice. It perfectly satisfies the psychological ritual of a winding-down drink while actively supporting your gut microbiome instead of contributing to neurotoxicity. Number 3. Sugary energy drinks and sodas. Data from the highly respected Framingham Heart Study published in 2017 showed that people who regularly consume sugary beverages tend to have significantly smaller total brain volumes and demonstrably poorer memory function on cognitive tests. This is a massive, silent issue for working adults. You hit that inevitable 3 p.m. physiological slump and grab an energy drink. You feel an immediate surge of focus. But biologically, you are borrowing tomorrow's energy at a devastatingly steep cost. These drinks deliver an unnatural, massive hit of liquid sugar, often upwards of 50 grams per can, combined with a massive dose of synthetic caffeine. The caffeine masks your fatigue by artificially blocking adenosine receptors in the brain, while the massive sugar load triggers systemic inflammation. The Framingham data specifically noted a reduction in the volume of the hippocampus among sugary drink consumers. The hippocampus is the exact anatomical structure responsible for forming new memories, spatial navigation, and learning new information. By relying on these highly processed beverages, you are essentially sacrificing your long-term memory capacity and structural brain volume for a temporary, jittery, 2-hour burst of artificial energy. If you desperately need a lift at work, stick to black coffee or traditional green tea. A cup of green tea provides a smooth, sustained caffeine lift perfectly balanced by the naturally occurring amino acid L-theanine, promoting calm focus without the crash. Most importantly, it contains powerful polyphenols associated with neuroprotection, actively shielding your brain rather than shrinking it. Number 2. Healthy fruit juices. For decades, fruit juices were heavily marketed by the food industry as an essential, healthy start to your day. What matters now is what updated clinical evidence shows about human metabolism and evolutionary biology. You look at a premium bottle of orange juice. The label boldly says 100% natural. Translation: the manufacturers completely stripped away the fibrous matrix of the fruit, squeezed the sugar of 5 whole oranges into a single glass, pasteurized it, and bottled it. Evolutionarily, human bodies were designed to process sugar slowly through fibrous whole foods, not in massive liquid doses. When you drink fruit juice, you consume a highly concentrated dose of liquid fructose. Without natural plant fiber to slow down digestion, this massive load of fructose hits your liver rapidly. Over time, processing this rapid influx can contribute to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. A fatty, overburdened liver drives systemic insulin resistance throughout the entire body. As your body becomes resistant to the hormone insulin, it deeply affects how efficiently every organ, including your brain, utilizes energy. Store-bought juice masquerades as a health food, while potentially contributing to the exact same metabolic dysfunction as a standard can of soda. Next time you shop, skip the heavily processed juice. Buy a bag of whole oranges or apples. When you eat whole, intact fruit, the physical act of chewing and the dense fiber significantly slows the absorption of natural sugars, keeping your metabolic response perfectly stable. Number 1. Hidden added sugars. High fructose corn syrup. Specifically, the ubiquitous high fructose corn syrup. Groundbreaking research from UCLA has shown in controlled animal studies that a diet unusually high in fructose can literally slow down the brain. It impacts memory and learning by drastically reducing a crucial protein called BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of BDNF as high-grade fertilizer for your brain. It actively promotes the growth of new neurons and ensures the survival and connectivity of existing ones. In these animal models, a high fructose diet severely suppressed BDNF production, making the brain slower, less adaptable, and more vulnerable to stress. The implications for human metabolic health are profound. Over the last decade, many prominent researchers have proposed calling Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes. While still fiercely debated and not yet an official clinical diagnosis, the hypothesis is built on a scientifically verified mechanism: severe insulin resistance centralized in the brain. Interestingly, impaired glucose metabolism in the brain is often observable on specialized scans years before clinical symptoms of memory loss even appear. Your brain cells absolutely require insulin to successfully transport glucose across their membranes for fuel. When you unwittingly consume hidden sugars daily, tucked away in ketchup, salad dressing, flavored yogurt, and pasta sauce, you keep your systemic insulin levels chronically elevated. Over decades of this constant bombardment, your cells downregulate their receptors, becoming resistant to the insulin signal. When brain cells become severely insulin resistant, it deeply impairs how efficiently they can use glucose. The mitochondria inside the neurons struggle to fuel themselves. This state of chronic metabolic dysfunction is strongly associated with long-term cognitive decline and memory loss. High fructose corn syrup fundamentally alters how your brain processes energy at a molecular level. This ingredient is artificially cheap for food manufacturers, which is exactly why it is pumped into a massive percentage of packaged foods. The food industry saves millions, but the consumer pays the hidden, ultimate price with their cognitive health. Remember that massive 36,000-person MRI study we talked about at the beginning? Accelerated brain volume loss does not have to be your inevitable reality. Neurological nutrition is largely within your daily control, and the defense of your cognitive longevity starts right now with what you choose to put in your grocery cart. Small, compounding habits over decades dictate the physical volume and sharpness of your brain. Here is your actionable plan for this week. Step 1. Check your pantry today. Flip over your condiments and packaged snacks. If you see high fructose corn syrup in the top 3 ingredients, swap them for unsweetened, whole food alternatives. Step 2. Stop drinking your sugar. Trade the morning glass of juice for a fiber-rich piece of fruit and swap the sugary energy drink for a neuroprotective cup of green tea. Step 3. Try incorporating canned sardines or wild-caught salmon into your diet this week instead of processed deli meats. For just $1.25, you provide your brain with massive amounts of the omega-3 DHA it desperately needs to maintain its cellular architecture. Which of these 10 foods surprised you the most, and which one are you cutting out first? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Protecting your cognitive function doesn't require thousands of dollars in expensive supplements. It simply requires knowing what the clinical evidence actually says and making one consistent, biologically sound swap at a time. If this breakdown was useful, hitting subscribe helps more people find evidence-based nutrition content, and we have many more deep dives coming to help you take control of your health.